Hi, I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and this praying mantis is the current pattern in the Funny Faces Quilt Block of the Month Club. It's releasing today, and when I say current, it is May 1st, 2022, and this pattern is going to be exclusive to the club through the month of May, and then it'll be available in the shop at shinyhappyworld.com sometime in late June. Here's how to make it. All right, I've got my block all quilted. I've got my pieces all cut. I've got the dotted lines that were on the back of the pattern pieces. I've already peeled these off because I also used these pieces to demonstrate how to do this with a light box. But I've transferred all of the dotted lines onto the fabric side of the pieces, and I'm ready to layer them in place. So I always like to start with the body piece, and this is framed as if I've snapped a photo. So his body is going to be all the way down to the cut edge of the block. So I line that straight line cut edge at the bottom of the piece up with the raw edge at the bottom of the block. So I'm going to put the face in next to make sure I've got him centered well enough in the block. So the head, I've got a line here showing where the chin overlaps, and once I've set it over that line, I know I've got it in the right place. Now I've got a couple of eyes, and I've got lines showing their overlap as well. There we go. And now I'm gonna, so that looks like that's gonna be pretty well centered. His little claws come out, and I've made my block bigger than it needs to be. This is a 12-inch block, so I've got some room to crop if I want to fine tune that placement. So let me go ahead and pop his antenna in here. They just come out of the top of the head, and I'm gonna tuck them under. I'm not sure if you can see this because it's a lighter fabric, but I've transferred a little line at the base of that antenna. So once that is covered, I know that that is buried well enough to get a nice clean finish. Same thing on this antenna. Let me make sure that I've got them symmetrical. He's a very symmetrical dude. All right, now I've got an arm that's going to come out from the back of his body. That's the cut up piece. And again, I've got a line marked on the piece. So once I've got it tucked enough to cover, that's where it needs to be. And then there is a little bend in his elbow going up, and then he's got this piece, kind of give him a little bent wrist. And you can overlap these pieces a smidge or not. You can also make them just butt up against them. I don't want any of that background color to show through, so I'm going to overlap them just a smidge. Now I've got another arm. You can see where it gets placed, and that is going to go right there. So again, once I've covered up that chalk line, I'm good. And now we follow a similar curve. This one isn't hooked up quite as much. I didn't want the arms to overlap each other. That would make for some very tedious outlining, and also it just kind of makes the image more confusing. And then he's got his little guy also. So I think I'm gonna bend this guy up even a little bit more to give this elbow a little bit more room to breathe. So I'm gonna bend this up a smidge, and then with this. I don't want to drop this down so low that it's going to get caught in the seam allowance down here. I really want that pointy tip to show. So I'm going to give myself a little room there. So when I sew my blocks together, so first I'm going to trim these blocks down to size, and then I'm going to sew it together using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. So I want to make sure I've got at least a 1/4 inch at the bottom, between the bottom edge and the tip. So I'm going to trim that. That's going to give me plenty of room. So there he is. He is all ready to fuse down. So I'm going to take this over to the ironing board. I'm going to follow the, oh, I forgot to do the eyes. So I've got one eye here. I knew something looked weird about this guy. And then I've got one more eye here. And I did want to show you that I've marked the position of the eyes there so that he's looking straight out at the viewer of the quilt. But if you want to play around a little bit with the position of your eyes, don't mark the placement of the pupils, and then you can go something like this, and you can make him look off in that direction, or you can make him look down here, or you can make him look all the way over to maybe he's looking at what's happening in the next block. So you can play around with the placement of those pupils if you want to. I just wanted to make this guy look like he was looking back at me looking at the quilt block. So I'm going to fuse that into place. Then I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and do all of my outline stitching, and then I'll be back here and show you the finished block and also show you some other color options. All right, here's the praying mantis. He is all finished. I've done all of the outline stitching, and he is ready for me to trim the block and sew it together with the rest of them. If I forget to mention the fabric, people always ask. So the fabrics, the green on the praying mantis is from the Farmer's Market fabric bundle, and this kind of rusty orange is from the Animal Kingdom color palette of the blocks. It's actually got the quilting lines printed right on the block, so that makes it super, super easy to do. But I have some other color options as well. So another green praying mantis. This guy I did in a much, much brighter green. I'm working on a collection of blocks that use the Gemstones color palette, both for the blenders for the animal and also for the background block. So this is Gemstones for both of them, and all of the blocks in the quilt are going to use their complement. So whatever I used for the animal, I've chosen from the complementary color for the background block. So these are really gonna pop on those backgrounds, and it's gonna be a very bright and colorful quilt. I also have another more realistic praying mantis. So like that first green one that was a much more realistic looking green, this one is praying mantises are often black or often brown as well, and they blend in really well with the leaf litter on the bottom of the forest. So this guy I did in various shades of brown, also from the Animal Kingdom color palette, the Animal Kingdom blenders, and then his background block is also from the Gemstones collection. So this is the dark emerald, so that's from the dark Gemstones quilt blocks. So again, this is one of the ones that's a solid, and it's just got the lines, the quilting lines printed on it. And I have one more super fun color version. So when I was researching the praying mantis, I found out that there are also things called orchid mantises that really look like an orchid. They are mostly pink, although there are some other colors in there, some lavenders and some kind of peachy oranges and some yellows, but mostly pink. And they often have like little freckles on them like an orchid has, but not always. They can look very different. But I decided to do a pink praying mantis, be inspired by the orchid mantises out there. So this one uses the Farmer's Market blenders for the mantis and also for her antenna. And the background block, this is the only one. All of these others are the blocks that are printed with the quilting lines. This one is another blender print, and it is from I've got a collection of all greens and another collection of all blues from the Farmer's Market bundles, from the Farmer's Market palette. But this is a quilt that I'm just now getting started, that's gonna all be animals on dappley green, kind of realistic green backgrounds. So that is 4 versions of the praying mantis block. Again, it is exclusive to the Funny Faces Quilt Block of the Month Club for the month of May 2022, and it'll be in the shop at shinyhappyworld.com sometime late in June for people who are watching this video years later, or for people who aren't in the club. I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World. I'll see you next month.